Welcome to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation news and commentary. I'm Drew's co-host, entertainment writer Jim Hill, and he and I are recording this week's show on Thursday, July 21st, 2022. This is a special one foot out the door edition of this podcast. Mr. Taylor has graciously agreed to record a new episode of Fine Tuning before he then begins his drive down to San Diego to begin covering this year's edition of Comic-Con, which, if I'm remembering the traffic on the 5 correctly, means that Drew should be arriving at the convention center, what, Saturday?
Yeah, if I get there for the Hall H panel, I'll be lucky. No, I think I'll be there by I don't know, 4 or 5 maybe. It'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are extremely grateful that Drew agreed to get up at the butt crack of dawn in California to do this week's show. And Mr. Taylor probably hasn't had enough coffee yet for this recording, and I've definitely had too much. So should be a real interesting show. First, the news, and as always, the news portion of today's show is brought to you by Storybook Destinations, trusted travel partner of the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network. For a worry-free travel experience every time, please book online at StorybookDestinations.com. Okay, Drew, just to jump into it, anyone who listens to this show on a regular basis knows that you and I are huge fans of Craig McCracken and his lovely wife, Lauren Faust. Personally, never gotten over that Wanderer Over Yonder got shut down in June of 2016 with just 2 seasons. And likewise, somebody has to rescue Medusa, wrestle it away from Sony. That's the project that Lauren was developing and was going to direct, and really smart take on Greek mythology. And if it ever got produced, would immediately be embraced by little girls and animation fans everywhere. Now, it's Craig's most recent project, Kid Cosmic, which was McCracken's first serialized series, right?
Yeah. Did you finish watching it?
I have to finish season 3, which dropped in February. But yeah, really, really enjoyed it. Did you see the news about the Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home for Imaginary's Friends reboot?
Reimagining? I thought it was interesting that he is going back to the well and reimagining these, because I think he's one of the most creative people in animation. It's kind of a shame that he's going back to previously created things, but I also thought it was interesting that he's using the Hanna-Barbera Europe studio to do it.
Yeah. It's an interesting choice, and coupled with the fact Powerpuff Girls is an expansion of the pre-existing series, where Foster's is supposedly a reimagining, right? That the idea of creating an all-new set of preschool age imaginary friends.
Oh, is that? I didn't see that part. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing a story about preschool shows right now and how they are kind of the last frontier for the whole cradle to the grave methodology of these corporations.
Oh, you are going to have so much fun.
I actually talked to people who worked on Batwheels, Bugs Bunny Builders, and an executive at Warner Brothers who kind of talked me through the process.
Because I just watched that clip of Bugs Bunny Builders, and it's interesting. I am looking forward to this story.
Well, they have to serve so many masters because they also have an educational program within each show.
But wasn't it 2020 that there was the announcement of that live action version of Powerpuff Girls, only now they were teenagers? Wasn't the pilot written by Deobla Cody or?
Oh yeah, I don't know if she worked. I remember what you're talking about. I mean, there were pictures that leaked. I think they recast the girls at least once.
Just in the last 12 hours after the news broke about the new Powerpuff Girls extension, it's like, well, what's going on with the live action thing? And because this is supposedly going to the CW, and it was just, nope, this is still in the works. It's still an active project. So
yeah, I mean, those photos looked like something off of a fetish website or something. So I can see what maybe they wanted some more time.
Like I said, folks, he's not had enough coffee. All right, the filters aren't up yet.
What am I saying here?
What am I saying?
Yeah,
okay.
I think a live action thing is still pretty viable, but this is also something that sets Warner Brothers apart, right? Is that they're completely willing to do things in the same sort of IP at different levels. Like we were talking about the Scooby-Doo and the Puppy Friends or whatever at the same time as they're doing Velma.
In the second half of today's show, we're going to be talking about the DC original movies, which, again, if you think about, you look at things like Todd Phillips' Joker or Matt Reeves' The Batman, and the Batwheel show in development at the same time. This fall, we're going to see the Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons. It's just sort of like, do you want a hamburger? Do you want vichyssoise? We have the same ingredients. We'll use it in a couple different ways. So now, doubling back to your drive down to Comic-Con, what do you do in the car? Do you listen to podcasts, audiobooks?
Well, I'm actually driving down with a friend, so I think we're just going to catch up. I don't see people very often, Jim, so I'm sure I will be gabbing on the way down.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
All right. The reason I was asking about audiobooks is, again, I finally got my copy of the Disney Revolt, The Great Liberal War of Animation's Golden Age, and I have started reading it. Have you cracked it yet? Or,
I haven't, but I'm bringing it down with the foolhardy intent to, before I close my eyes from sheer exhaustion each night, trying to get through some of it. But yeah, we will have him on the author on the show at some point.
Yes, in fact, I did want to mention this. Well, Jake S. Friedman has been very kind to offer to come on Fine Tuning, and so Drew and I have to finish reading the book before we quiz him about the book.
Yes.
I've gotten into it, and he has a really interesting take on the story. What he's decided to do is take Walt Disney and Art Babbitt, one of the key figures in the Disney Strike of 41, and it's toggling back and forth between their stories to sort of get you set up to why these two guys who initially, that's the thing, Art came to the studio and within 2 years was a member of Disney's inner circle. I mean, he was the animator that Walt was really relying on as they made the jump from shorts to features. And to have Art be the one who was leading the strike against the studio was the ultimate betrayal for Walt. It's a 322-page hardcover. Really enjoying it. I've already heard, in reading this thing, I've already heard stories I've never heard before. So Friedman really did his homework, so well worth seeking out. Another book I'm pretty sure you're going to want to get your hands on, Drew, is Hollywood Ending, Harvey Weinstein, and the Culture of Silence. Ken Atchuleta, the author of this book, did brand new interviews with people like Michael Eisner, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and Peter Murphy, who is the head of strategic planning at Disney, and basically gets them to admit that they turned a blind eye to a lot of Harvey's more reprehensible behaviors. And,
really?
Yeah. He was making a lot of money for us. And when award season rolled around, we took home a lot of statues. So it was like, what's interesting is Ken walks you through the stuff that finally made them decide to turn against Harvey. And some of the stuff was Harvey's sexually abusing women and doing inappropriate things in hotel rooms in New York. But, when he comes out to California and he smokes in the hallways at Disney, that's it. It's one of these things. We have no smoking signs all over the Burbank studios, and he's being disrespectful. So we need to figure out what to do with Weinstein. And it's like, so smoking's the thing that's too far, not that he's doing awful things to actresses.
He besmirched the Michael Graves building. I mean, that's really...
Well, there you go. All right. And finally, a third book here in my summer reading pile. This past Tuesday, picked up a copy of Don Bluth's Somewhere Out There, My Animated Life. And Drew, you've read. Yeah. There we go. That's the appropriate noise, okay?
I would say that people should think twice maybe before picking it up. If you really want a deep dive into the movies that made Don Bluth so special, the stories that you were probably looking for, they just aren't there in this book. I will say.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. 374-page softcover book from Smart Pop. Think about the animation history that Don was personally involved in. And that's what's so weird about this book. He will literally walk up to a story that you want to hear and then veer off.
Not even any good Xanadu anecdotes, Jim.
It seems like this book is not written for an animation fan. This is more written for folks who go to the Church of the Latter-day Saints. It's more, it's Don sort of writing the story for that audience, don't you think? Or...
Yeah, I really didn't know what to make of this book, Jim. I was absolutely mystified. I think I started reading it before you, and I just said, whoa, watch out. This is like, it's very churchy, I would say. There's a lot of kind of anecdotes about life and lessons about growing up on the farm and unnecessary details about what it's like to be a poor Mormon kid in the boonies where you have to use one tub of water to wash 6 kids on a Saturday night. And I think you had read ahead of me, and I said, oh, is he going to talk about Dracula? Nope. Just nothing. All the things you want to hear, the dirt. Well, and I think it's because he couches it in all this kind of like wisdom, folksy wisdom that like...
Well, yeah, there's a lot of talking to himself in the mirror in this. Look, I've been waiting on this book for decades. There wouldn't have been a second golden age of animation at Disney Studios if not for Don Bluth. When he walked out the door in September of '79 and took a third of the staff with him, that's what finally awoke the sleeping giant. If Don hadn't done that, gone off and set up Aurora Productions and done Secret of Nim and American Tail and the like, Disney would have been churning out more films like Fox and the Hound or Black Cauldron, which on the surface look ambitious, but if you actually take a look at them, they're toothless, which is, again, a word I don't want to use, but that's the thing with Somewhere Out There. This is a toothless memoir. I wanted some really juicy stories from this guy who had a front row seat for real animation history, and it's just not there in this book.
Yeah, and a guy who often acted like a complete ass, and like that is something that is not dealt with at all. I mean, what he did to Disney was pretty questionable, I would say. Like kind of rounding everybody up and leaving on his birthday as this kind of sign that he was going to strike out on his own. I mean, there's just no grappling with any of this. I mean, how many companies did he bankrupt, Jim? I mean, come on. Like, these are things that if I were looking back on my life, I would maybe grapple with. But there is just nothing.
Yeah, but again, spends a lot of time talking to himself in the mirror and talking about hubris. You know what's weird, Drew, is this suddenly makes me nervous for the Dick Nunis book that's coming out in October of this year, The Waltz Apprentice, Keeping the Disney Dream Alive. I mean, I've been waiting for decades for that one, too. And what happens if Dick doesn't deliver the goods?
Jim, a Dick not delivering the goods has been a problem for... since time immemorial.
Okay, kids, moving on here. Like I said, no filters. He's not having had enough coffee. I'm so sorry.
I have a little bit of news for you, Jim, that just broke, that I just saw on Twitter.
Ooh, what?
Steve Carell made $12.5 million for his role as Gru in Minions: The Rise of Gru.
Wow.
I think you and I could have done it with some, voice modulation. I cannot believe that.
How many Minion films are? We've got the first 3 Despicable Me's. We've got the first Minions, and now we have the 5th. And with another Despicable Me coming in, next year or 2020?
I think next year, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Given the billions that the series has, the fact that Mr. Carell, please show up, stay in front of the mic for a couple of hours. And then, face it, half of this job is then now you go on Good Morning America. Now you go on The Tonight Show.
I will say he was a good sport when it came to the press tour.
Yeah.
Because he's the only one that can go on it for a Minions movie, right? What are you going to put, Pierre Coffin out there and just have him mutter things to people?
Beep, 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 beep. No, no, you're not wrong. But to put this in perspective, just yesterday they were announcing that Tom Hardy is being paid $20 million to do Venom 3. So it's like the fact that somebody who's doing voice work for an animated feature is getting that sort of a payday. I feel like Carell earns it, especially given what he's willing to do to promote these things. So
we should do a feature sometime about what people have been paid for animated movies. And
excellent idea, and we will pursue that. Beyond that, did you see that earlier this week Netflix released images for Scrooge: A Christmas Carol, the animated thing that's based on the 1970 live-action Scrooge that's coming out in December?
Oh, I didn't see that it was based on the 70s version. I just thought to myself, an animated Scrooge, what a novel concept.
Well, no, what's really cool about this is they've gone back and they're pulling music out of the, and this was a full-blown musical, it was, in fact, it was a deliberate attempt to sort of follow on the success of Oliver. Remember the big movie musical that took home the Best Picture, I want to say in 68? I really want to see this because Scrooge, the live-action thing, had some of the weirdest production numbers in the history of man. In fact, there's one moment in the show.
This is George C. Scott, right?
Well, no. This is Albert Finney, who also got...
Finney, yes, okay.
He got an Academy Award nomination. I want to say George C. Scott did a version of Scrooge that CBS did as a TV movie.
Okay.
But yeah, it's in the same window of time thereabouts. And I swear to God, Drew, the song that's performed in this part of the film actually took home an Academy Award nomination. All right, it's called Thank You Very Much. And it's the slums of London, and people are gathered outside of Scrooge's house, and they begin this bright, happy singing and dancing number, and Scrooge, who's observing this as with the ghost of Christmas yet to be. It's like, oh, they're happy, and they're happy because of me. And, what Scrooge doesn't realize is why everyone is singing and dancing and joyous is directly behind him as he's dancing in the street. They are carrying his coffin out of his house. It's Scrooge's death that is making the people in the slums of London happy. And, I mean, they literally have people dancing on Scrooge's coffin in the middle of this production number. And it's just sort of like, oh, please tell me this makes it into Scrooge, Christmas Carol, the animated version, because I really want to see that again. Speaking of things I really want to see again, season 3 of Central Park. We just found out that's starting up again on Apple TV Plus on September 9th. 13-episode season runs through November 18th, and of course features friend of the show, Josh Gad, who, by the way, told me to say hello. He's in New Zealand right now, and just answered a whole bunch of questions for me about Frozen Ever After, and I'll be using those for a feature I'll be doing on Disney Dish shortly.
Did you see? It looks like Josh recorded some new stuff for the cruise ship too.
Did he really?
Because there's an animatronic Olaf that is carted around, much in the same style as our beloved Remy and the other forgotten members of the Living Character Initiative during dinner.
In the dinner theater
Yeah,
show?
they have it's literally a cart. I'm sure it's using the same stuff as Remy, but it's a full... the character is about 2 feet tall on top of this cart and speaking... and saying lines that I don't think were in the movie unless there was a deleted scene about the generosity of the second dessert that's coming out. I think Josh... I haven't asked him about it, but I think he recorded some new stuff for that.
Oh, I wish I'd known to ask him about that. Damn. Okay.
Well, you'll actually be going on the Disney Wish, Jim, unlike some of us on this podcast. So you can talk to him.
Working. I'm in dancing bear mode. The people who signed up for that storybook destination thing, they're enjoying the cruise. I'm the one running around telling pointless stories. And speaking of animatronics, and do you remember the Baby Groot thing they used to have at the studio?
Yeah, I never saw that, but...
That was impressive. The problem was finding Chris Pratt impersonators in Florida. That was a little problematic. They were always a little scrawny, and just couldn't quite pull off Chris Pratt. But anyway, bring up the animatronic Groot, because I Am Groot, the new series. Well, it's 5 shorts. That starts on Disney Plus on August 10th.
Did you know that the shorts are like they're like the movie versions of Groot?
Are they really?
Yeah, there's no stylization on the animation. MPC or whoever might have actually been responsible for the shorts. That's how close they are to what's in the movie.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Look forward to checking those out. Finally, as we wrap up the news section here, I want to ask, what do you make of Netflix buying Animal Logic? I think you actually talked about that this was in the works a few weeks back.
Yeah. What I hope for, they haven't specified what they're being used for, right? I'm assuming it's feature animation, which wouldn't help the sort of weird situation with TV, which I don't know if you saw Gendy talking about, who actually I sat next to at dinner a couple of nights ago, unbeknownst to either of us. But I said, "Oh, hi," at Casa Vega.
Okay.
He said, Netflix doesn't really support your show once it's done. They can, kind of talk a big game. But I was kind of hoping that Animal Logic might be able to close the gap in the sense that you and I had been hearing that a lot of the shows were canceled as they were being sent away for final animation. So it's like, oh, well, now Netflix has an animation studio. Maybe that won't happen as much, but it seems like it's probably going to be for feature animation more.
It's so interesting you bring this up because we were telling the Craig McCracken story at the top of the show. And after production was wrapping on the third season of Kid Cosmic, he supposedly pitched 10 ideas for new shows to Netflix, and they didn't pick up one of them.
Oh, I didn't hear that, but that makes perfect sense. I mean, I assumed that there had been some kind of falling out.
You and I just last week were talking about The Sea Beast and how much we both enjoyed that. That's Netflix. They supported that film, but it just, given some of the decisions they've made lately, I just don't necessarily trust the people who are in the corner offices about the creative decisions they're making. And in fact, on the second half of today's show, we'll talk about how that's also something that seems to be going on at Warner's, especially in regard to DC.
Every story you love, every invention that moves you, every idea you wished was yours, all began as nothing. Just a blank page with a blinking cursor, asking a simple question. What do you see? Great ideas start on Mac. Find out more on apple.com/Mac.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Big news. Sephora is now on Uber Eats. So if you find yourself facing a beauty emergency, like needing a last-minute gift, or you're just out of your favorite mascara, again, don't panic. We got you. Order now and get $10 off on Sephora orders of $50 or more on the Uber Eats app. Order now. Offer ends October 30th. One order per customer. Additional terms apply. See app for availability. Delivery fees may apply.
Did you see that Lightyear has a date for Disney Plus?
Yes, August 3rd. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So I think we need to encourage everyone that didn't see it in the theater.
Oh, no, this is a great movie, folks. If you didn't see it in theaters, in fact, I was in Target just this week, and was eyeballing. There's an opportunity here because as soon as it begins running on Disney Plus, all these toys are going to go clean, and Target actually had them, a lot of them marked down by a third.
Oh, interesting. Listen, I still got my eye on that $400 socks, Jim. So.
You and me both. All right. So, Drew, what is your plan for this Saturday at Comic-Con? Because the Warner Brothers panel is in Hall H beginning at 10:15 a.m. And then the Marvel Studios panel isn't till 5 p.m. Now, I know you know people, so you don't necessarily have to camp out in Hall H and sit there for all of the panels in between. But given your wonderful Mission Impossible themed podcast, Light the Fuse, which, by the way, coming up on its big 200th episode.
It's true.
You're going to want to be in the Warner's panel to hear what Henry Cavill, who, of course, had made such a memorable appearance in Mission Impossible Fallout. You're going to want to hear what he has to say, because he's supposedly talking about what's going to happen next with Superman.
Well, yeah, I mean, the things I've heard about Superman in the upcoming DC universe does not lead me to believe that he would be there, but who knows? Okay. From what I understand, well, I shouldn't say it. I'll tell you off air what happens to Superman. But, yeah, I'm not going to be at DC, I don't think. I will be at Marvel, but, yeah, I'm very, DC has a lot of irons in the fire.
It does. And we were talking about them at the top of the show. I mean, the Batwheels thing. But when you look at the Warner Brothers and DC, at least the live action side, it's kind of been erratic these last couple of years. I mean, you actually tweeted out. I had read it before you put it out, but I totally agree with you in regard to Tiana Siegel's piece that she did for the Rolling Stone about Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League and how the bots may. That's amazing.
I will be throwing on Matt Belloni's podcast on the way down to San Diego, I'm sure, because he's talking to her about it on the Town, his Ringer podcast. But yeah, everyone should read Tatiana's great story.
And she got a wonderful assist in that piece by Adam Ronsley. Some amazing reporting. There's also been a lot of talk about what's Warner's going to do in regard to The Flash, given that Ezra Miller can't seem to stay out of trouble, and this is supposed to be there's big summer blockbuster for the summer of 2023. In fact, that's supposed to hit theaters in June 23rd of next year. And it's just, there are some really good movies being made in the DC extended universe. I mean, Todd Phillips' Joker, Matt Reeves, the Batman. So it's not like everything's misfiring, but it just makes me kind of crazy that if you pivot to what Warner's animation group is doing with these DC original movies. In fact, this Friday night, folks can go to Ballroom 20 and watch the brand new DC original movie. In this case, it'll be Green Lantern, Beware My Power. You can see it up on a big screen just ahead of when this DC original movie goes on sale. In fact, it'll be showing up on store shelves Tuesday, July 26th. And then just 3 days after that, we get DC League of Super Pets. What have you heard about that, Drew?
I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen it yet, Jim. I don't go until Monday morning when I get back, so I'm sure I'll be real alert for that one.
It is a Jared Stern film. All right, and this is the guy who co-wrote the Lego Batman movie, the Lego Ninjago movie, and that's at least what I've heard. It was a funny script, as it went into production, and this is Jared directing. So I have high hopes. By the way, have you heard that Jared once wrote a Small World movie? This was in 2014, and for a time, John Turteltaub was supposed to direct.
I remember the project. At one point, I believe it was just called The Cruise.
The Cruise?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I will do some digging, though. I have long thought about doing a piece about the unmade theme park-based projects of the Walt Disney Company and reaching out to everyone.
By the way, Bill Stout has actually, through Brian Gahn, said that he is perfectly willing, A, to come on the show, and B, to talk. So he did a lot of concept stuff for Magic Kingdom. So we could get some cool stories here.
That's interesting because I have struck up a friendship with one of the creative principals of that movie, and they have never seen Bill's work. So maybe we could get him to come on the show, too, and it could be this great unveiling of things.
Ooh. Oh, I like this.
Yeah.
Planning in real time, folks. Again, this is why you don't want to get too much coffee into Drew.
Right. Well, yeah, but you got to share your Brian's contact information with me before I head down there so I can go say hello to him and Bill.
I will. Cool. But again, just to sort of double back on DC original films, I mean, these haven't been around all that long. First one drops back in September of 2007. This was Superman Doomsday. But there have been 47 of them to date. Catwoman Hunted was the most recent release. That hit store shelves back in February of this year. And, of course, Green Lantern, Beware Our Power coming up. And then, as I think we mentioned earlier in the show, Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons. That hits store shelves on October 18th of this year. But what's interesting is the next one, Drew. That's the 50th title in this series. And I'm really hoping at this point, given that these DC original movies have made a lot of money for the studio. They've been a very consistent producer, high quality all the way through. I'm really hoping for film number 50 that the team at DC original movies get their long-deserved moment in the spotlight. It's time to be recognized.
Well, I know that internally they're sort of seen as the direct translation of a lot of these comic book stories. And I do give them credit for switching up the art style every so often.
Oh, yeah. By the way, Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons will be the very first CG DC original movie. All the other ones up until this point have been hand-drawn, so it's going to be interesting to see, what the look of that one is.
Have you watched The New Frontier, the Darwin Cook adaptation?
I really enjoyed that, and largely because of the animation style. I mean,
it's beautiful.
They did a great job. Folks, be sure to check this out. But again, I keep bringing up time because poor Drew has to pack and begin driving down the 5. So.
I still got stuff to write, Jim. So that's how messed up I am. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to stop talking. So, but before I stop talking, I need to remind you, if you're not listening to Drew's wonderful Light the Fuse podcast, which he does with Charles Hood, you are missing out on some truly amazing stories. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, they are coming up on their 200th episode, which Drew has clued me into what's coming. And seriously, you cannot miss this show, folks.
Yeah, I agree. You should listen to the 200th. It is going to be mind-blowing. So that's all I can say. Yeah.
All right. Now, we mentioned also that Drew tweeted out that amazing Rolling Stone story. So again, put a lot of folks in the know about that wonderful piece about the Zack Snyder version of Justice League, and the role bots may have been played in that project going forward. But again, you'd only have heard about that early if you've been following Drew on social media. So, Drew, can you tell folks how they can do that?
Sure. This is something you can do on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Drew Tailored like a tailored shirt. And there you go.
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram as Jim Hill Media, and on Facebook as Jim Hill Media News. Finally, one last request here, folks. If you could do Drew and I a favor, if you could head over to Apple Podcasts and rate and review, well, not just the show you're listening to, find Tooning, but also Light the Fuse, that would be helpful. If you get over to Bandcamp and subscribe, that would be great as well. And that's gonna do it. So I'm going to shut up now so Drew can go finish writing whatever he needs to write and pack and begin the drive on the 5. So thanks again for listening, folks. We'll be back soon.